Welcome, and it's another edition of the On the Mic podcast, and it's a big week for the podcast. We have a lot of big names, big plans, a lot of fun things in the works for you guys, and kick the week off right. We had to talk to a man who not only was one of the biggest winners of the weekend, but had one of the biggest statements at UFC 250, not just by his fighting in the cage, but his actions in the cage. And honestly, one of the greatest heartfelt stories of the weekend and probably of the year with his father. He just took out undefeated Alonzo Menifield. He is the one and only Devin Clark. Sir, congrats. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. Now, I just want to clarify one thing because I know you're a gamer. Like, you posted a video of the eye and your injury, but you're on the road. That's why we're doing this over the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the see, I drove from Albuquerque. I trained in Albuquerque, and I drive my car down there because I love to go off-roading and stuff like that, but I drove my truck to Albuquerque. I drove from Albuquerque to Vegas, and now I'm driving home. Had to wait one more extra day because of my eye and stuff like that, but I'm good to drive now. I can see straight and all of that. So,
well, I'm going to jump right into it, man. You took on a guy that not a lot of people wanted to fight, in Alonzo Menifield. We talked before the fight. You said you felt violent. You said you were going to go in there and you were going to make a statement, and I know you wanted to finish, but everything that you have done in your career was displayed this past Saturday night. You dug deep. You took his hardest shots. Was there any moment in that fight where you were concerned about making it through?
Yeah, as soon as I broke my orbital bone, in that first round when he hit me with that shot, that shot there fractured my orbital, and I needed a couple breaths just to realize what was going on, and that I was all right still, and I could keep fighting. So once I realized that, and go for, get back into my control, let him know that I will still take his ass down. And, I think that got in his head as well. And then I started throwing some strikes and let him know he was still in a fight.
What is it about you, Devin, that you can bring that out of you every single fight? And I want to go back to what you talked about the last time we talked, but specifically, this is a guy not a lot of light heavyweights wanted to face. This is a guy who he steps in the cage and people are talking about his appearance, his striking ability, all these things you touched on, and then he breaks your orbital, but you've been through it all. You've dug deep so many times in your fights. What is it about you that gets you to that place?
It's just doing my job. That's my job, and if I couldn't handle it, I shouldn't be fighting. We're going to get hurt in there. You have to get through it. I grew up wrestling. I started wrestling when I was 7 years old. And playing football and boxing, it was the same thing. And a lot of the stuff that my dad instilled into me, and also my brother, by simply just beating the shit out of me. But you just get tough over time, and you realize you don't need to quit even when your body wants to and your mind wants to, and everything about all the pain is telling you to quit, and you just know that you can keep going. So all the years of training and mentally being tough.
Well, you just mentioned him, and I'm sure you know this, but social media was buzzing about your father, during your fight, after your fight. I just want to, if you can, kind of talk about that a little bit and what it's like having him in your corner, especially on a fight night with no crowd, so the whole world got to hear what he's saying to you in the corner.
It's always awesome, and he's right here next to me. He's kind of in on this interview too. We're driving back together, so he's right here. But yeah, it's awesome. He's always been there through all my sports. Always that loud guy, and lets his presence be known, and that's one of the main reasons he's there, is to let his presence be known, and it impacts me quite greatly. Just if I am in a bad spot, and maybe just hearing his voice, stuff like that, it might snap me back. But yeah, it's just, and I've rewatched the fight a few times, and you can't really tell that there wasn't a crowd there because, like I said, that presence that he brings, and then my other coaches, they feel that too, and then the other side, they must have felt it too because everybody was loud and everybody. It seemed like there was a little bit of a crowd there, even though there wasn't. There's like 5 people doing all the screaming. So it's it's a huge impact and a big thing in my fighting career and my whole athletic career.
You mentioned it earlier, and I kind of just want to go back to it. Talking about hearing his voice, and it may be the reason why you dig a little deeper. And by the way, hello to Mr. Clark, because if I got 2 superstars on this phone call, I gotta acknowledge the other one. But when you talk about his voice and how it inspires you to push through, were you feeling that directly in that fight after the injury?
I really don't know. I really don't know, but something inside of me said, stop being a pussy, get up, fight. You gotta fight. And if you watch the tapes, he was yelling at the whole time. So I don't really know. I'm so used to it, but it's something that I'm not going to change. And he's in my corner. So whether it's just a mental thing or not, it's very important.
With that being said, you mentioned your father, you mentioned your corner. I think there's been a little bit more focus on corners over these, last 4 events the UFC has staged with no crowd, because you can hear everything in these corners, and sometimes the corners are overbearing. For a guy like yourself, in the fight that you were just in against Alonzo Menifield, what did you feel at all like your corner was being too loud or just right? Like, how would you sum that up with your corner as a whole?
No, not at all. I mean, the thing that it goes back to what my dad brings, and it's a bit of the chaos, and I'm used to that. And it's not, either way, I'm going to fight how I fight, good or bad. But I'm good in that chaos. I'm good with the noise, and I'm good with distraction. It didn't take away from my fighting at all. And also hearing his corners and stuff like that is, you're going to fight. Like, none of that should matter in the first place.
You're absolutely right. Let's get away from the actual fight. You made a major statement, one of the biggest reasons I wanted to talk to you, because if you don't mind, I'm going to go to something you and I discussed when we ended the Zoom interview. You said that one thing you wanted to mention was that you were fighting another black fighter at UFC 250 in Alonzo Menifield, and we didn't touch on that, and I felt dumb for not bringing that up. But you took a knee, you raised a fist, you made a huge statement. Before I get into what you did, was this something you had set in your head you were going to do all week?
Yeah. I was planning on taking a knee during my introduction, and then when we did it afterwards, that was actually my coach Chad Smith's idea. He's a white guy, but he feels very strongly on the whole movement and stuff too, and also to support me and how I feel about it, and also my father. But yeah, it was something I wanted to do, and I even did it at weigh-ins too. I didn't take the knee at weigh-ins, but I did raise the fist at weigh-ins. I just felt like it was my time to make my stance on it, how I feel about it, and really, for me, it's about unity and peace and coming together and stuff like that. But it's also we have to fix the issues, and that starts with we talked before the policies within the departments and just the way police officers and officials are held accountable. Which right now, and that goes by having better leadership and checking into some of these departments. They just don't have the leadership. The leadership might be bad, and the whole the department across the board will have chinks in it, chinks in the armor.
When you talk about, you had it set in your mind, and you did it at weigh-ins, you did it pre-fight and post-fight. When you being an athlete in the position that you're in, and seeing how there is such a media and public backlash to athletes who do it. Obviously, Colin Kaepernick is the poster, athlete for that. Never played again in the NFL after he took his stance. Was there any nervousness from you, like you were going to receive criticism, there was going to be backlash, or I'm just going to ask you quite frank, you didn't give a shit?
No, I didn't care at all. I didn't even think about it really. I didn't think about the backlash at all. I just knew that's what I wanted to do. I didn't ask anybody about it. I think I told my coach Chad I was going to do it. And that was about it. I didn't think about the repercussions. I just knew it was something for myself, I needed to do just to show my fans and the people around the world that it's all right to tell people how you feel and stick up for what you think is right.
Well, I think you sent a very strong message. Given everything, all the circumstances that are happening right now, yes, the pandemic, but more importantly is social injustice. Well, you mentioned policies need to be changed, police brutality. The list goes on and on. And a guy like yourself makes a statement, really doesn't care about the headlines. You just care about the honesty and the openness that you can relate to those around you. What is the biggest message you have, though? Because to be honest, Devin, and this is something we probably didn't dive into enough the last time we talked, but it's sad and it's tragic and it's disgusting that I have to be blunt and say racism still exists in 2020. And now it's so much more public because of social media and smartphones and video captures. But when people like you can make a difference. You matter. You're kneeling and raising the fist, and your team doing it. Your stance matters. So how can we get through this?
I was just coming together. Really, it comes down to what everybody's mama told them to do. Treat others how you want to be treated. At the end of the day, that shit works. It's never steered me wrong. I treat everybody how I want to be treated. I treat them with respect until they disrespect me, and that's the way it should be. Instead of the other way around, disrespecting somebody, and that's where it goes. It happens a lot on these first encounters, and that's where the race comes in, and people don't respect other people for one reason or another when they first meet them, and that can change somebody's life in 10 minutes. Just how you treat somebody can change. Shit can happen that quick, and that's what we're dealing with. So treat people how you want to be treated. Treat them with respect until they show you otherwise.
Did you hear from Dana or the UFC or anyone following, the everything that you did pre and post fight?
No, I haven't really heard anything about it. No.
Is that kind of relieving? Not that you were worried about it. I know you said you didn't care, but isn't that nice to feel that? Like you feel like you have a voice that, again, I mentioned the NFL, NBA players, even in Major League Baseball, these players receive criticism and backlash, and teams look the other way. Owners talk about all the actions that are in place. But isn't that kind of relieving to you to be like, I can just go out here, speak freely to who I am and what I believe, and no one says a word?
Yeah, that is pretty nice, and I think Dana did say something about along the lines of I'll let these guys use this platform to express themselves. And it is a nice thing, because why the hell not? Why can't we do that? We're individuals. It would be wrong if we couldn't I use my own intro to take a knee, and there's still people commenting, negative stuff. But those are dipshits. But I've gotten so much love over it. But I use my own introduction. No disrespect to anybody. It couldn't have disrespected anybody. That was how I felt at the moment, and that's what I did, and I stand behind that. I thought I made a good decision doing it, and that just lets people know who I really am.
Last one on this. Do you feel like, one, because Aljamain Sterling was another one this past weekend who was very vocal about all the unrest going on in our country. Do you feel like there will be other fighters, or maybe have you heard from any other fighters who will kind of follow the lead you set there this past Saturday? And do you think more fighters will use this open platform to voice their feelings, their concerns, and all of that?
I really hope they do. I really hope they do, because there's so much diversity in the UFC, and this doesn't, this whole discrimination, it doesn't stop at just black and white. There's, countries all over the world that have the same issues. So, I hope these athletes do continue to use their platform. Personally, I know John Jones has been doing it. I was out with him Monday night before I left Albuquerque. We were trying to stop people from graffitiing and just doing stupid stuff. And so we can just have a peaceful protest, so we can get the right message across, so it doesn't get misconstrued in that way.
Did you tell John of your intentions of what you were going to do?
I did not know.
I'd be interested to see, what he thought. I think it sent such a powerful message. But man, back to you as a fighter. I mean, this is a big win. This is everything you wanted. Obviously, not the injury, and you were looking for that finish. But what is the biggest takeaway you have from yourself following this win over Alonzo?
I didn't quit on myself. That's the biggest thing. When my orbital broke in the first round, we came with that uppercut. Yeah, you really want to quit in a moment like that, 'cause you don't know what's going on. All you know is pain, and that everything he was telling you to quit. So I'm proud of myself that I was able to overcome the injury and rely on my training, my mental training, and my physical training to get through the fight and continue to beat the shit out of the dude and adjust to the situation accordingly. I tried to knock him out a little bit. I tried to wrestle him a little bit. I clinched him a whole lot of it, and just used everything in my power to beat this guy. And everything I've learned over the years, from the wins and the losses, to get this huge victory. People didn't give me a chance in hell of beating this guy, as I'd be knocked out in the first round. It almost happened, but not this time. Not this time. He had to work a little harder for that one.
Well, you're now on a 2-fight win streak. You just, like I said, handed him his first loss, but this is about you. What's next, Devin? I mean, look, you're taking out a guy that nobody wanted to fight. I think you're right there in terms of the rankings. Not that the rankings are everything, but they do stand some relevance to the fights that you get. Where do you think you are in this division, and who do you want next?
Might as well start at number 15. That's with Shogun. I think that's a great fight for me, and I think I deserve that fight. He's a number 15 ranked fighter, and I think he's on his way out. And like I said, that's a great fight for me. It's a fight that I can get up for. He's a legend of the sport. I have a lot of respect for him, and that makes me want to fight him all that much more and beat him. And I think that's the first step of proving that I'm on the climb now.
That would be a great fight. Now, he is scheduled to take on Nogueira this summer. I forget the exact date. So would you would you wait around and see how that goes, and do you want to get back in there later this fall, or what's your timeline like?
Well, we'll see how I heal up with the orbital injury and stuff like that. I think I'm out at least 6 to 8 weeks from that. So we'll see what happens then. But really, I'd love a top 15 guy, but whoever I usually don't turn down fights. So I don't think now is the time to really be picky for me. I just need to keep fighting and keep winning, no matter who's across the cage from me. I know I can beat anyone in the division, so bring them on.
Well, Devin Clark, if I could pay you any compliment, it would be that you don't turn down any fights and you don't turn away from adversity in the cage, outside the cage. I think you made an incredible statement in your fight to the division and to this country, to this world that's really hurting right now. And I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you being open and discussing everything from before the fight, the last time we talked, to now. All I can say is congratulations on the win. Heal up, and I'm excited to see what's next for you.
Well, absolutely. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you having me on. I can voice my opinion. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, safe trip back to South Dakota, and I'm sure we'll talk as your next scheduled fight gets close.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We roll on here on the On the Mic podcast. I am Mike Pendleton, and as soon as he starts talking, you're going to see the what we call the old collection. There's new collection coming soon. I can only imagine. This is a guy who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Before we started recording, I just told him, I had a chance to sit in his office. He is truly one of the best coaches in the game. He is Conan Silveira from American Top Team, the coach of Amanda Nunes. Coach, welcome to the show. How are you?
Everything is great. We're feeling great. What a great weekend and an amazing Saturday. Something then is going to stay in our memories for the rest of our lives. I mean, I don't have words to describe.
Well, I'll just jump right into it, and we can talk about the fight and all that. But, you can go through the history of this sport, and not only are you a coach, but you're a father whose son is a fighter as well. And when you look at some of the greatest fighters, and I said it before last Saturday on my podcast, that Amanda's not just the greatest female fighter. The conversation can be had. She's the greatest fighter of all time. And those greatest fighters have some of the greatest coaches. And that tandem, that duo, that relationship that they have, it goes so much further than what we see on fight night. So for you, have you been able to reflect on this journey that you and Amanda have been on and what it means to you?
It's one thing that I always say is, I always tell people then Amanda is the daughter, then the MMA, the fighting gave to me, our relationship pretty much as father and daughter. It is something I don't want to create any jealousy, with my fighters because they would think then, I don't have from them. But it is a different thing. It definitely is something then with the time when understanding each other, knowing each other, we are always on the same page. We always think we have things that we do in our personal life that is exactly the same. But it definitely makes a big difference. We just understand, each other on the critical, when the big moments, when the commotion, whatever situation comes to us, it's just easy for us to understand what I want from her, what she wants from me. It's kind of having the talking we need to have. It's just amazing.
Is that relationship, the strength of it that you guys have, does that make it easier to have tough conversations? Not that Amanda's had to go through a lot of adversity in her fights, but where you feel like you can say anything to her at any time, whether it's in training or in a fight, and she's going to understand because of that strong relationship you guys have.
100%, probably even more than 100, probably 1,000 or billion. But because we don't have that. It's always with the respect. It's always with a lot of love. Then we talk to each other. It is based on the relation, the relationship we have with each other, the way we feel about each other. But 100%, she's extremely coachable as a fighter. Probably, everybody would think then the level then she reached today. Last Saturday being double champion, retaining the 2 belts will make her understand about everything in MMA. But no. It is when it's time to train, when it's time to get ready for a fight, she is extremely coachable. We will discuss, we will talk, we will create the camp. Yes, the answer it is yes. Makes everything pretty much very easier when you have the open relation.
Absolutely. And so I got to say, first and foremost, you talk about no jealousy between your fighters, and there shouldn't be. But I see the beautiful belt collection behind you. And I just got to add, you show, one of my favorite things about you, Coach, is you show so much love and energy and positivity to your fighters, win or loss. You're someone we can't miss on camera in the corner. And with that being said, do you ever put Amanda on your shoulders, hoping that maybe one of the new belts will fall into your lap while you're carrying her, and you can update
No,
the thing?
no. It is one that I would say that it is a very special way to celebrate. It is what she deserves. She definitely, it is. I get a little bit, kind of bothers me a little bit when people trying to select her as a female fighter. And I don't think that she's not in that level anymore. She's not being the level anymore. She is definitely 100% the best fighter. She accomplished something that nobody has done before. And I think that without without the feet on the ground, seeing things the way she does, the way we do, she deserves the position. She deserves to be, called and recognized the best fighter in the planet.
I have to ask, because you talked about, that father-daughter relationship you have. We talked about the coaching style that you guys have, the open relationship. You just mentioned not the fact that she's just one of the greatest female fighters, but if you take off the coaching hat for a moment and speak to the relationship you guys have, she's ran through future Hall of Famers. She's beat legends in this sport, like a Chris Cyborg, Misha, Ronda. We know her track record. But Amanda's, there's fighters like Ronda and Gina Carano and Chris Cyborg who have opened doors. But Amanda kicked down more doors and set her own trail for many women after her to look up to and try to follow her path. Her relationship with Nina, they're beginning their family. Not only did she win 2 belts, but she retained both belts, as you mentioned. When you don't look at it as a coach and you look at it, the relationship you have, Amanda Nunes, the person, how proud of her are you?
I don't think that I have words to describe that. It's just because it is, in our case, between me and her is much more than just a coach and a fighter. So going back to the beginning of this journey, what you guys seen happen today, it is something that we talk about it back then. We talking about before Misha fight. We talking about probably, even before the first Valentina fight. We knew, that we could achieve. We dreamed that. It was part of, I would say that our dream would become reality. And we knew then she could do it, so I don't think then as person, as Amanda and Conan, Papa, the way she calls me, I don't think then is really a way for me to describe that. It's just, we are too close. It just, for us, it's something very normal and natural, it's, like she's my daughter, that's the way I treat her.
Are you excited and happy to see that she's laid out a path that younger fighters or women in general can look at Amanda and say, no matter what people have said, no matter what people think we can't achieve, it has been done, and Amanda Nunes kind of leads the way for that?
100%. Yes, definitely. Yes. Yeah. It's not only, you see, what she's done, and I think that I can say that she's continue doing is to show people that, what, if you have a dream, if you really want to do it, if you really want to pursue your dream and make reality, make sure that you worry about the sacrifice. Make sure that it's not going to be an easy, nice road. It's going to be a bump. And when I say bumping, it is a high can go high, as low can go low, but you can make it. Because, her past, the way where she came from and all the sacrifice that she invested on this journey was worth it. But was because she believed she could do it. We believed that she could come and become the best MMA fighter in the planet.
I think that's a strong message for fighters and humans all over. Now, okay, we could actually talk about last Saturday, UFC 250, dominant performance against Felicia Spencer. At any point in being in Amanda's corner, did you think the referee or Felicia Spencer's corner would stop that fight?
Yes, I definitely think that from the fourth to the fifth, I think that they will stop. She was pretty much, was bad cuts, a big bump on her head. I mean, it is funny because when people ask me that, I don't know if I will throw a towel or stop the fight. But at the same time, I think then they should stop the fight. Amanda gets dangerous by the second. More she sees the possibility of really put you down. She kind of grows in a fight more than a lot of people haven't seen. It's pretty much, she knows when it's time to buy the prey. And I mean, she's very precise. And that was as funny as being, Amanda's coach. I was worrying about Felicia because I know what Amanda's capable to do. So yes, the answer probably, would be yes. I think that we should stop on the fourth.
I think that speaks to who you are. Now, I'm going to look at it a little differently. And I know that, MMA fans, I don't know how you feel, but when you have a podcast, you got to hear from fans a lot. And social media, you got to hear from fans a lot. They want knockouts. They want quick finishes. And Amanda has done those. But for me, I think elevating the conversation from Amanda to being the greatest female fighter of all time to the greatest fighter of all time currently fighting is that she goes 5 rounds and she gets better and more dangerous and more violent as the rounds go on. So you guys have now had 2 decision wins after 2 first-round finishes. Do you like that? I mean, obviously you want to get in and get out, but she's able to show everything in her toolbox that she has.
Let me put it this way, Mike. Let me tell you what it is. One, if you're not the best thing about Amanda, besides the talent, besides the fluence that she speaks from every area that she does. She's good in everywhere. But it's one thing that I gotta say about her. She has a conscience. She really sees clear in the fight how she has to adjust herself. Most of the fighters, they have a strategy, they have a plan. And if the plan gets away from what they're expecting, they get lost. Amanda doesn't have that. If she will finish you in the first second of the first round as she will finish you on the last second of the 50th round. So as the fight goes, it is so important for you, number one, adjust yourself. Finish the fight as a KO, TKO, or submission. Of course, everybody wants, but it never is going to happen exactly the way you want. If you understand about MMA, if you understand about fighting, if you understand a little bit about life, can you tell me then everything that you plan the day before you went to bed and you sleep and you say, tomorrow I'm going to do this, 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 and that. Are you telling me that it's going to be exactly by the dot, by the book, exactly the same thing you planning to do it? Of course not. But it makes it easy when you have the understanding about, or I should say the ability to adjust yourself, still making, but adjusting yourself, and don't get disappointed if you didn't knock out somebody, if you didn't get disappointed if you didn't meet somebody. I mean, it is chances that she had on the fight, but she through the common sense and say, okay, if I'm going to invest that much and if I'm not going to have the consequences can be bad. Let me translate that to you in the fight scene. Like Amanda went to the Katagatami, or she went to a position that gave her the possibility to finish. But if he's not there, she's not going to be disappointed and she didn't finish the fight because she'll, for some reason, Felicia was defending or will be the case. She's going to change and adapt herself to say, okay, I didn't have that, so I'm going to continue and I'm not going to stress myself because I didn't finish the fight. Of course, every fighter searched for, he wants to finish with the KO. He wants to finish with a submission. But it's not going to happen all the time. And you have to be able to adjust yourself for that.
I love that mindset. And just for all the listeners and those watching who will watch this, I told you, my baptism into training, and I didn't even get in there with the team, was down there with you guys at American Top Team. I got the honor to go in there and see how you guys work. And I just watched. I didn't talk. I didn't, bother anyone. I just watched. And to hear you break this down, it just makes a lot of sense why there's so much success in your team and all that you have done. When I look at what 2020 has been, I know recent success for Amanda is great and her career has gone great. She's had that big turning point, but we have this coronavirus pandemic. It's changed everybody's life one way or another. A two-part question here. How did it affect the training? And then what was it like on fight night in the empty arena and all the precautions the UFC had in place?
Answer the question number one. The training pretty much was we separate everything. Usually that's the way we do with the corona, no corona. We do things separate. I like to have her some part of the training in the camp has to be specifically separate from somebody. Because number one, she doesn't train with another female. All the training partners from Amanda are all male, so to handle the training. Secondly, pretty much the fight day was exactly what we do here. Silence, just the coaches. So was so similar, was so exactly the same for us. I think better like that. Then didn't affect in anything. Really didn't change 1 inch in one thing in our mind set to go for what we're looking for. So no, I think that our mentality, Mike, and I would say probably personally my mentality, I don't get bothered with things, just if you allow things to bother me. So doesn't depend. I don't feel any situation that you're going to say, oh, that was bothering him, because I believe in life, you got to give the permission to do that. So if I don't give you the permission, it's not going to bother me.
That's very, very smart. I love that. We could talk about Amanda all day long, but the way I do my interviews and the mindset that I have in talking to anyone is to not ignore everyone around them. So I would be an idiot to not ask you what it's like to not only have a great team of fighters, but to have your son who is a fighter. And what does that mean to you? And how do you go through that? Like, what is it like with him being a fighter for you?
That was his choice, as much as you're going to say, yeah, but he's following you. Yes, I do believe, but never in any time, even when he was a little kid, I never put any pressure. I never told him. He never heard from me any word saying, oh, you're going to do this because me. I'm a very strong believer that you have to dream and you have to live your dreams by yourself. Belongs to you. You got to walk with your legs. Whatever you decide to do has to bring you good and bad consequences. That's the reason why it has to be with yourself. So when he was in high school, he was playing football. And one day, of course, he's starting jiu-jitsu. Like 3 years old, he was right on the mats, doing jiu-jitsu. But I will say then the best part of this journey with him was one day he came to me and said, hey, Dad, I'm gonna jump in wrestling. I'm gonna do some wrestling off season because football is off. And I would say, it's up to you. You can do or you cannot. That's your choice, your decision. So he left football and he never left wrestling. So he went from high school to college. He went to ASU for scholarship in wrestling. He definitely started wrestling old. He was 16, I believe, or something like that. And he went through the whole college and the scholarship, wrestling scholarship. but the decision to become a fighter, to jump on this crazy, journey was his. So I cannot ever tell him, the reason why you do gotta do better because me. I can never do that. And I'm extremely happy then I don't have to request. I definitely gotta, I'm the one who trains him. I do his schedule. We are pretty much, getting what we want. I just wish that he'll fight more times. I'm start getting to see a little bit of having my last name is kind of really putting a hold on him, because everybody sees they connect, last name or the American top team is the worst, background, and somebody can have it. But I mean, definitely yes. I mean, I'm very proud of him. I enjoy a lot, but that is his own journey. That is his own thing. I'm just part of.
But I got to give you this credit because you're able to separate, and this is a big compliment I have for you, is you can separate that fatherly connection to Amanda and your actual fatherhood and parenting relationship with your son, and you can just be a coach. I got to ask you, and I just have a few more questions for you, but this is important to me. How do you separate that? I can tell, I knew you were a nice guy from the first time I was down there, but to have the names that you have, to have the relationships that you have, to have the labels on those relationships that you have, how do you separate that?
I gotta say, number one, I mean, thank you for what you said, but I believe that it has to do with the way I am, my personality. I'm very, not in the bad way, but I'm more rational than emotional. At least not that I'm not emotional, but my relationship with myself as emotions are very, I know, I know when to feel. I don't know if that kind of makes sense to you. I mean, since I was a little kid, I always been like that. When it's time for me to be rational and I gotta think and I have to calculate and I want to get the best of the best, the rational side comes in a very nice way on me. So I can separate, definitely, yes. I don't coach my son or I corner my son with no. You're gonna say, bro, but that's your son. Yes, but at the moment I have to see him as a fighter, and for him to get the best what I have as a coach, he cannot see me as his dad. He's got to see me as his coach. He needs to get the message not from the dad, but for the coach. So I believe that's what helps me a lot because I'm able to, like you said, separate everything.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of the biggest qualities and compliments I have for you. This is the $1 million question. Amanda's ran through everyone. She's win after win after win. She's defended both belts. Nina and her are starting a family. From your perspective, and I don't know if you guys have had a conversation, it's the conversation everyone, it's the question everyone wants to know an answer to. What's next?
I believe now the next will be her vacation. Next will be enjoying the pregnancy, to think about family. I'm going to be a grandpapa. So, she needs her time, since she fought for the first belt, since she fought Misha, nothing in her camp has less than 5 rounds. Everything is 5, 5, 5. And you can possibly imagine how much she has to put at, as exercising camps, the responsibility. Don't think then being a double champ, with something then made history doesn't bring you responsibility. It brings you a lot of responsibility, and she needs a little time for herself. Usually we don't talk about what is next in the next 3 weeks. She has to get her. We talk, of course, we talk, but I know what's going to be next, who we're going to fight next, when is going to be. Let she kind of enjoy life a little bit, and she's not like a high request person. She always in a very low. She likes to be with her family, enjoy, being with the family in Brazil in the farm, and she just like very simple. So it's time for her to kind of do her thing. But let's, I believe that in another month or so, you're probably going to have an answer for that.
Well, I think all of us know that she deserves that time off. We talked about her as a fighter. We talked about her legacy. But you mentioned, and it's something I don't think really many people talk about, but you're Papa, you could talk about these things, right? When Amanda and Nina welcomed their child into this world, how would you describe what Amanda will be and what their child is going to get in Amanda Nunes, the mother, the person?
I will say then it is a amazing combination between both of them. I see them extremely um, um, capable to love somebody. They are so happy with this new big. I would say not even a new chapter, but I say the new book coming to their life. They ready for that. Amanda is super family. Nina is a super family person. So I just see good things. I just see, a new family coming together. I mean, I just think it's going to be good for them. It's going to be great for the kid. What you have two mamas, two fighters. Once is the number 0 on the planet. It's not in number 1. She's number 0. I think there is so much of um, happiness coming together. I think that's the way I can describe better. Um, I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be, I'm going to see. I don't know if I'm going to train her if she decides to be a fighter, but definitely I'm going to hold her a lot.
I love that. I love that. Just a couple more here for you. I know you guys have had a lot of changes at American Top Team. I know you said, you have a lot of people on your team and you don't want to pick favorites. So I'll ask you this without having you pick favorites. Which fighters on your side or just in your gym are you most excited about for the remainder of 2020?
Mike, to be honest with you, it's not that I don't want to say names, but it's so hard because everybody here, they work hard. They so focus on that dream. Then I mean, the question number one: what do you want to be in the UFC or any other promotion? Everybody wants to be a champion, and that requires a lot of work. That requires a lot of sacrifice. And the guys here, they work so hard. I think that everybody. Even sometimes I have two guys really close to each other in the same division. We still find a way to put the training together, make sure that everybody support everybody with their dreams. So it's kind of hard to say. I have Pedro Munhoz, I have Marlon Moraes, I have Alexandre Pontaja, Jairzinho. Big. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, is it Kayla Harrison? I have George Max Vidal, Dustin Poirier. I mean, we can be here for weeks.
We could be.
And I probably shouldn't say any name because I'm going to forget some names than I should say. But I'm so proud of everybody. I think that I see the way they mentally are in the game.
No, absolutely. And I don't ever want to leave anyone out. I will say this, like I continue to say, the first MMA gym to allow me in their doors was you guys. And I'll say this because I don't want to ask about one other guy that you just mentioned, but not only did I love the training, the kindness from everyone, even the fighters who are in camp, I didn't seek out anyone. I wasn't there to do interviews. I was there to train with Dean Thomas for 2 days, but everyone treated me like I was just one of them. So I give you that compliment to your team as well. But you guys have amazing interior design as well. And that kind of leads me into, there's so many great photos and the way you guys have the place decked out with belts. I mean, looking right behind you on your wall, the newest, probably best image, best artwork on the walls is one of my favorites. I actually want to pick it up when I get my own apartment. Is the Jorge Masvidal flying knee, and not here for the controversy, but when you see a guy take time to himself, get himself together in his personal life, and then move forward to become a better fighter and to do things that have never been seen before, a 5-second knockout, a BMF title, he created his own destiny. Do you believe we'll see Masvidal fight this year, and that all this back and forth with the UFC will be put to rest?
Let me use that question. I will say that in general, and I will use that as in my own experience.
Yeah.
The only way and the only person then who will stop you to dream and make your dream become reality is yourself. Nobody has the permission to do that. Like I said, you have to give the permission to somebody to really come in your way and stop you. Besides that, and I will say probably the same, you always have to believe in believing. You have to believe in yourself. You have to understand then, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. You have to understand then, life depends on you, only in you, to make your dream come true. So when you see yourself and say, maybe, like George, I don't think then the fights with George that make him reborn again. I think then he never died on any fact that he was not dreaming for. I believe then George just showed and say, listen, I'm going to make it, and I depend on myself. So definitely, yes, I see George Masvidal pretty much setting a very extremely big example to everybody. Don't ever question yourself. Don't ever question how much you believe in yourself, because if you do that, you don't have anything left. And I believe then he's still gonna go, high and high. I mean, I don't have no doubt about that. I do believe that by between now and the end of the year, he's gonna really put his name even higher.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite quotes, and I know a lot of people like the one-liners and the press conferences and the trash talk, but I think the reality is when George said he was looking at the split decisions that didn't go his way, and he just told himself, no, they could have gone my way, and he realized that the only person to make them go his way is himself. Is exactly what you said. So I love that. Coach, what's on the agenda for you now? And I got to ask, I want to end this on a light note. Which belt do you like better, the old belt or the new belt?
I like the old belt better because kind of brings me the taste and the memory of the beginning of everything. You know what I mean? I like the old one. I'm old. Uh, um, I'm an old fighter, so I believe the beginning is what it makes brings a little bit more like taste and memory, like I said.
Well, Coach Conan Silveira, thank you so much. Again, I wish we would have talked when I was down in Florida.
Anytime, just gotta give me a call, Mike. You please.
Always
here for you guys.
You are truly one of the best in the game, and congratulations on all of your success with your whole team, not just Amanda. And thank you for being so open about Amanda, because
I appreciate you.
I try to tell a different story, instead of just focusing on one thing. So I think you were the perfect person to talk to, and I will definitely be talking to you soon. Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Mike.